The UFC is one of the only high-level sporting promotions that doesn't put a filter on its employees. Colby Covington is sitting at the beach somewhere thanking Uncle Fester right now. But it seems like some changes have been made due to the political situation of the world, and the fighters aren't allowed to walk out with their flags anymore. Bizarre, right? Stay tuned to hear more. First up, Randy Brown speaks up on the ban. Flags being banned during the walkouts is one of the hottest topics in the MMA world today. The very first time this flag issue was brought up was by Randy Brown in his Octagon interview at UFC 274. The Jamaican MMA veteran fought his way to a tough split decision victory against Chaos Williams. Randy was visibly very emotional due to the hard-fought win after going through a tough first round. Brown switched languages from English to Jamaican and addressed his home country and the issue of banning the flags. He gave his homeland a shout-out to make up for the absence of its flag. Soon after the interview went on air, people started posting the translation of his address, and the general public's attention was caught. There hadn't been a single fighter who had walked out with their nation's flag on the entire prelims of UFC 274. This inevitably led to a number of questions and speculations from the media and other fighters. Carrying your country's flag while making the walk to the octagon is a moment of pride for the fighter. They get to show their heritage and inspire people from their own country. It's not a surprise that this news didn't sit well with most of the fighters and brought the UFC under fire, an organization otherwise known for always supporting fighters and expressing their views and speaking freely on anything they want. So much for freedom of speech, huh? Next, we have Dana White's response. One thing we all love about the UFC is the transparency. Like their motto says, it's as real as it gets. After the pay-per-view ended, Dana White sat down in front of the press as he usually does, and he was asked about Randy Brown's statement and whether or not there was any truth to it. White confirmed that it was indeed the UFC that didn't allow fighters to carry their flags. This doesn't seem like a one-time only ban. Most people expect this ban to stay for a long time. Dana's response to the question was vague. He didn't talk like his normal, unfiltered self. Instead, he just said, "You know why, let's not even press the effing issue." Even from his expression, he looked disappointed that he had to make that decision. The UFC is all about authenticity. It's something he puts above everything else. But with all that's been going on in the world, it seems very likely that his hand was forced and they had to make this rule. The president of the UFC is anything but a coward. He never shies away from the hard questions, but this time he didn't even want to get into it. Very uncharacteristic for him to do that. If you had to guess who the brain behind the move was, who would it be? Comment down below. Now for speculations about the real reason. If you think about the ban for a minute and knowing the way Dana reacted, the most likely scenario that comes to mind is that many sponsors and directors made the decision. The UFC, not wanting to lose any money over a stupid motto, decided to say bye-bye to the fighters' privilege of representing their home. It seems like Russia and Ukraine had to play a huge part in this decision. Ever since the war started, people have been expressing their sympathy for Ukrainian natives. But if you're familiar with the UFC's roster, every single division's got a few Russian fighters that are ranked or in title contention. The biggest MMA organization has never bowed down to the woke mentality, but eventually they all must bend the knee. Another possible reason is the emergence of Chinese fighters in the UFC. Ever since Thug Rose's comments on Zhang Weili before their first fight at Jacksonville, there's been a war between the Republican and the Democratic fan base of the UFC. Many people thought Rose's comments were unfair and that she shouldn't have associated Weili with her problems with communism. Her comments led to the champ getting booed heavily by the Jacksonville crowd and created more sympathy for the Chinese native. Looking at this incident, it seemed appropriate for the UFC to make some kind of statement, but they decided to sit on the sidelines and let the fighters handle their business. Why can't they just do it one more time? So, no more authenticity? This isn't the first time UFC has made a controversial decision towards restricting the fighters' attire. Back in 2014, the Reebok deal was introduced that received nothing but negative feedback from the fans. The goal of the promotion was to create a more uniform and professional look like in all other major sports. As much as that makes sense, it takes away from a fighter's ability to wear what they want. Remember the good old days when Chuck Liddell would enter the octagon with ice blue shorts and Tito Ortiz with flames on his trunks? That can't happen anymore. What's worse is that the fighters can't have their own sponsors on their shorts anymore. This takes away a significant portion of their income per fight, and if you know about the Reebok deal, it pays in peanuts. That doesn't mean they don't make exceptions. Everyone's favorite fighter from Arkansas, Bryce Mitchell, got himself his own pair of camo shorts. Thug Nasty called out the UFC after every fight to get him a pair of camo shorts, and he got it. Looks like all you gotta do is ask. Many of us were hopeful that the Venom deal would be a lot better, but the difference in payment is insignificant, and we're left with the same crap under a different brand. Now that the fighters can't even carry their own native country's flag, it seems like we'll just be seeing a bunch of robots with no distinct sense of style fighting it out. This sport was supposed to be better than the rest of them. Next, in other related news, Iron and Diamond go at it. It seems like the stars are aligning for the long long-awaited fight between Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler. Diamond was supposed to welcome Chandler into the UFC in his debut, but it seemed like Poirier wasn't having any of the disrespect by the UFC. He thought for them to pay a new guy more than him was unfair. After Dustin gave away his title shot to Chandler so he could get the McGregor trilogy, it seemed like that would have been the perfect time for the two to face off for the title. Both Dustin and Michael fell short to the champ. It looks like they need each other now to finally make their way back into title contention. After knocking out Tony at UFC 274, Chandler went to Dwayne Johnson on the mic and called out everyone but the Diamond. Dustin was quick to point that out, and it led to Chandler responding that he's not interested in fighting Poirier as he feels disregarded. Dustin loves to have his fun on Twitter, and he called out the former Bellator champ Michael Chandler, which led to a snarky response that was acknowledged by the former interim lightweight champion. Looks like they both want to get their hands on each other, and who wouldn't want to see this battle? Max vs. Volkov 3 is confirmed. The trilogy is set, and this one's for all the marbles. Max Blessed Holloway will take on the undisputed champion Alex Volkanovski for the belt and the status of featherweight GOAT. Officially, Alex is 2-0 against the former champion, but many people thought Max won the last fight, so the trilogy would be appropriate to decide who the better man is. Volkanovski's making a quick turnaround after the demolition of the Korean Zombie. The champ doesn't have a point to prove this time around. In an interview, Alex said that he took the fight because it's the biggest one out there and does the most for his legacy. Can't argue with that. They're set to face off on July 2nd at UFC 276 in the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. We just can't wait. Cannoneer goes viral. At this point, we've all watched the crowd cam footage of Jared Cannoneer surrounded by Sterling, Patty the Batty, and Molly. All three of them were a little tipsy and having a good time, but Jared just sat there with no expression on his face, wanting nothing to do with the group. Cannoneer spoke up about the video, saying that it's just not his style to act that way in front of the camera. Maybe it's also because he's got a title shot coming up and he was the only sober guy sitting in an audience filled with drunkards. Whatever the reason may be, it made for one funny clip that's not getting old anytime soon. That's a wrap for this video. How do you feel about the UFC's decision to ban flags? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.